Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Monday, March 13th, 2023, the 10-year anniversary of Pope Francis becoming the first Jesuit Pope. And as we imagined, it was a really rough day for banks, especially smaller banks. And once again, the bank that performed the best today was J.P. Morgan, who's also the savior of First Republic Bank, which we'll talk more about. First Republic stock value plunged by more than 60% today. We'll also talk about the symbolism of the biotech company Illumina Inc. having a very good day, one of the top performers in the market today on a very fitting day, the 72nd day of the year. We'll also talk about Joe Biden scolding the banks that have collapsed in recent times and why it was so fitting for Jesuit Joe to make the remarks that he did today. We'll also talk about CNN's top headline this evening saying it was absolutely idiotic how the SVB, Silicon Valley Bank CEO, sparked the collapse of the bank with his words. And we'll talk about why it was so perfect for Pfizer to buy Seagen today. The big fish gets even bigger. And we've been talking a lot about the market in 23. Charles Schwab, big name when it comes to the market, collapsed 23% today before recovering some of its losses. And I think that's going to be a really consistent pattern all year. Just 23 in the market, just like how last week on March 10th, it was the 23-year anniversary of the dot-com bubble bursting, and then the big tech bank goes down 23 years later. We'll also talk about another thing that's buzzing, how two of the executives at Silicon Valley Bank worked for Lehman Brothers and Deutsche Bank, which were part of the 2008 financial collapse. But here we are, this screenshot right from Mad Money today where Jim Cramer was apologizing for recently telling everybody to invest big on Silicon Valley Bank. He said it was just a mistake. And he also recently told people Silvergate was a good investment. And again, he has a long history of doing that, telling people to go big right at the worst time. But every time it's just a mistake, according to Jim. So anyhow, you can see all the red and all the big downwards pointing arrows. First Republic was the biggest loser today, dropping by about 62%. Western Alliance by 47%. But as you can see, a lot of these regional banks had a really rough day. And let's talk about why First Republic, very symbolic name, was the biggest loser of the day. We talked about how today was 86 days after Pope Francis' 86th birthday. And of course, it's the anniversary of him becoming the Pope. There's something the number 86 has a lot to do with Republic, and we've talked about this many a times before in regards to what's on the dollar bill. So let's scroll down here. Again, Pope Francis turned 86, and then the next day his favorite football team, Argentina, which had last won the World Cup in 86, did it, as predicted. Just like how we predicted March would be a rough month for the financial system. It was all foretold in another football game, the one with Damar Hamlin with the perfect collapse ritual, in the first quarter, like here we are in the first financial quarter, in the third month while he wore number 3, and of course it's also his birthday month. But notice, it's 86 days after Pope Francis's birthday, and it looks like I forgot to put the word Republic on there, which is supposed to be at the top. If you're new here, Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. You learn this code, you see through the rituals every single day. Republic, when you just take the alphabetic orders 86, like symbol, like pyramid, like triangle. Again, you just think about the US dollar bill. If you take the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, I of Providence equals 86. That's the I above the pyramid on the dollar bill that's illuminated. We know how well Illumina Inc. did today. But again, 86 days after the Pope's 86th birthday, he's the first publicly Jesuit Pope. The Illuminati was created by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. And if you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Jesuits is also 86. But notice, that illuminated eye above the pyramid. Think about how today, March 13th, on this calendar that's named after a pope, it's named after Pope Gregory the 13th, the Gregorian calendar, but on this calendar that's named after a pope, today's the 72nd day of the year, and it's also the 13th day of the third month. 13 layers in the pyramid, 72 stones, right? Our dollar in this democratic republic. Today, on this day of all days, First Republic Bank, nearly bites the dust without the help. They say it would have bit the dust without the help of J.P. Morgan Chase and the Federal Reserve. And again, how do J.P. Morgan Chase and Federal Reserve come together? Again, all the way back to the Titanic. J.P. Morgan stepped off the boat just before its fateful sail, where 3 of the world's richest men who were all opposed to the Federal Reserve just happened to die. J.P. Morgan Chase, always the big beneficiary of these financial collapses where it grows bigger and bigger in the era of the central bank, the Federal Reserve. The exact points I was just making. And, the funny thing about J.P. Morgan Chase being the hero, today's Jamie Dimon's birthday, the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. And notice how Eye of Providence is also 67 in reverse. Interesting, because today's his 67th birthday. And notice how it's also 167. We talked about this, how today is 167 days after the Jesuit recognition date. The Jesuits were recognized by the Roman Catholic Church to counter the 95 Theses on the day leaving 95 days left in the year, which is September 27th. And again, we just had the German Pope die at age 95 on the last day of the calendar year in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, when the German Martin Luther wrote the 95 Theses, starting the Protestant Reformation, which had a lot to do with finance being taken advantage of by the Catholic Church. But anyhow, 95 plus here we are on the 72nd day of the year, 167. 167 is the 39th prime number. Today's date numerology is 39. And remember, that was the big number last week with the bank collapses. SVB mostly going down on March 9th and then it being finished off on March 10th, where they stopped trading at $39 while the bank was 39 years old. And once again, the bank fully collapsed 144 days after its birthday anniversary. So, the symbolism, again, to me seems quite clear. And again, the language of Rome, Latin, what's on the dollar bill, along with all of the symbols. They're all very numerological. And there's a whole lot of 13 on the dollar bill as well, besides the 13 layers of bricks. But again, the 72nd day of the year, it's been put out there that they want to transition us to a new money system, an all-digital system, something that's a little bit more like crypto with blockchain, perfect accounting. And again, Bitcoin's a big 72 word, and Bitcoin's had a good day today. We imagine it might have a good day today, but for how long is it going to stay up is the question. Again, we see how it's all coming together. The banks tied in with crypto are hurting. They're collapsing. Jerome Powell at the Fed is saying we got to centralize the cryptos because they're not centralized, they're too unstable. And now we see how the instability of them factors into the centralized banks. So, I think that point's clear about First Republic going down. Who really controls this republic? Is it really a democratic republic? Do the representatives that we supposedly elect really represent us? Do we even really elect them? We all know the answer to these questions. No, no, and no. It's just like how I told everybody Joe Biden would be number 46 in the election 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, when Catholic equals 46 and the nation's only other Catholic president was assassinated at age 46. You guys, what's so frustrating is how well we have this figured out, how we're way ahead of the curve of pretty much everybody else on YouTube, and still almost everyone denies the knowledge, even though it's undeniable. JFK, number 35, killed at age 46. Joe Biden, number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, inaugurated on the Pope's 35th day of his age. Catholic, again, if you're new here, the base ciphers, alphabetic order, forwards and backwards numerology. Catholic, 145, there's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament than Protestant Old Testament, and there's 46 books in the Catholic OT. The Old Testament's Jewish, the Jesuits are a Catholic Jewish alliance. That's why Israel was created in a huge Jesuit ritual on the 14th day of the 5th month, 145. And who declared it a nation? David Ben-Gurion, whose name just happens to equal 145. And again, in the Protestant Old Testament, 39 books, and again, there's a stereotype with banking. And there's been a whole lot of 39 in these bank collapses. All for the planned chaos to transition us, again, to what they have laid out. The digital currency, where Big Brother tracks everything under the watchful, all-seeing eye. So we know what's taking over the world, right? Big pharma, big tech, bigger and bigger banks, and why not the biotech company Illumina Inc. on the 72nd day of the year, having a stellar day, being one of the market's top performers. Huge surge in price today, up nearly $33 a share on the 72nd day, Illumina Inc., just like Jesuit order. And again, these numbers matter because what illuminates the world? The sun. What does sun equal in Gematria? 54. Every 72 years, the sun moves 1 degree on the astrological wheel. And just for the record, biotechnology, the field it's in, notice the gematria, 150, 69, 201. Remember, order of Illuminati, right? 201, also 93, like how the sun is 93 million miles away. Heliocentrism, 150, 69, 201. Same numbers we just saw. But Illuminati equals 150 and 69. The sun is 150 million kilometers away on average. And remember how big 69 was with the bank collapse last week. Fully collapsed on the 69th day of the year after beginning on 39. And again, Silicon Valley Bank, also 69. But Illuminati, 69. New World Order, 69. The Jesuit Order, 69. Also 201. Catholic Church, 69. Again, Order of Illuminati, 201. Founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. And you know what else? Just coming back to the pyramids, since we're talking about that. Again, if you look into it, the Great Pyramid of Giza, which in Gematria equals 201, the Great Pyramid of Giza, it has 201 remaining layers of stone. Illuminati symbolism. The eye, which represents the sun, and the pyramid. And that's why the eye above the pyramid has sun rays coming off of it. And notice how I is 35. It's put on the dollar bill in 1935. Catholic 35. Holy See 35. Christmas Day 1225. The sun's birthday 1225. Square root 35. Again, the Catholic Church has celebrated Christmas. They've celebrated the sun's birthday on what we call Christmas since the year 274 AD, going with the Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, equaling 274. And when you run it in reverse, 266, like how Pope Francis is the 266th Pope, and he became Pope on 3-13-13, which in prime number relationships is 266. 3 is the second prime, 13 is the sixth prime. So 3-13-13 is 266. And you see how Isus Hominum Salvator is also 122? So is Pope Francis, and so is San Francisco. First Republic is headquartered out of San Francisco, which is named after St. Francis of Assisi, just like Pope Francis. And San Francisco's on the 122nd meridian as well. And the Satanic Church was founded there in Satanix 122. And that's why Anton LaVey, the founder, died 201 days from his own birthday and also 201 days from the sitting Pope's birthday when he died. So we don't need to ask who's behind the Church of Satan. It's pretty clear. The same Illuminati Jesuit network. And by the way, just with regards to this all being synced with the Pope today, again, Pope Francis is the first Jesuit Pope and the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. Birth name Jorge Mario Bergoglio's 201. And if you look it up, his suite is in the building known as the Domus Sanctae Martyr, which is also 201. You might have noticed that they're both 312 in reverse, his name and the building. And 312 is the day in history that Ignatius of Loyola became a saint, the founder of the Jesuits, whose name is also 201. So, with regards to all the 201, look at what CNN did today. Absolutely idiotic. SVB insider says employees angry with CEO. They're saying the CEO tipped off the panic that collapsed the bank. Notice the encoding of absolutely idiotic. 201, 258, 105, just like Order of Illuminati. The exact same. You know. Here's everybody's favorite financial investor and now doctor, Bill Gates, co-sponsor of Event 201. Had that Netflix special come out called The Next Pandemic, right about the same time, right before the pandemic that changed the world. It's just amazing that we can't get people to talk about this. It's like every con man on YouTube refuses to talk about this. I saw a con man on YouTube today with 7,000 people in his live stream just talking straight out of his ass, saying he got it right. For the last 5 years, he's been saying the banks are going down. And obviously this was going to happen at some point. But he's like, see, I finally told you. It's like, yeah, you've been saying the same thing for 5 years. I don't know why you got 7,000 people watching you. It's like, meanwhile, over here, we just take one stab at it. March 2023. Boom. What do you know? Dead on. How did we know it? Because we know Gematria. And just all the people in these guys' chats, you try to talk to them, they're like, that's stupid conspiracy stuff. Okay, keep listening to the one guy who gives it to you in a 5-year window. All right, speaking of 201, again, Jesuit, and that same guy thinks Trump's going to come back and save us all, and he thinks, this is all Joe Biden's undoing, and again, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, both sacrificing their family members in big 201 rituals. They're both Jesuits. Joe Biden's from Scranton, Pennsylvania, where The Office ran for 201 episodes. And then they just arrested the Moscow killer who lived in apartment 201G. Did the killings on King Road just in time for the King's birthday. Let's not forget the Queen died 201 days after her COVID diagnosis. But again, Joe Biden lost his wife and daughter in big 201 rituals way back in 1972. I know we've covered these a million times, but let's cover it one more time. Limestone Road's where they died in 72, where Jesuit orders 72. And so was President Biden and President Trump. And don't forget they simulated the election for Biden 144 days before it happened. At Georgetown, June 12, 2020, the Transition Integrity Project. But also, again, when Biden was 72 years old, so back in 1972, he loses his wife and daughter. Then, when he's 72, he loses his son, Beau Biden, at age 46, 201 days before the Pope's birthday, on the 150th day of the year. Again, Illuminati 150, Order of Illuminati 201. Everything synced up with the sun on the heliocentric model on the Gregorian calendar, which is based on the sun. You see how it all fits together? In the 16th century, the heliocentric model, the Gregorian calendar, English as we know it. And again, non-stop rituals, day after day, by this very simple code. Yeah, it's amazing how everyone just starts making fun of the information everywhere you go. I've just tried to get into some other financial people's stream and just share a little bit and just instantly just ridicule, unless it's just all bots in the chat that are just meant to do that. But it's God, can anybody look into what I'm talking about? I mean, it's just you never get a comment Oh, very cool. I'm going to look at that. It's like, are you kidding me? Do you know how stupid you sound? Oh, a schizo just... It's just like, oh my God, man. Okay, you're listening to a guy who didn't really nail anything, but you're all 7,000 of you are here listening to him gloat about how he got it right. You can go back and watch a video for 5 years saying the banks are going to collapse any month. Okay, 60 months later, he got it. He nailed it. Meanwhile, over here, beginning of the year, we said March... collapse. I mean, and just everything we talked about is just unfolded by the exact code. 83 here, 83 there. It's just, but people, it's just like, I don't know. It's like you can't figure out what they want to listen to. Somehow, people, and again, when I tune in these channels, they're all using the same tricks. You know, they're talking real nice. Jesus is helping them out. You know, Trump's going to come back. And doesn't it make sense in a way? I mean, Catholic Church is ruling the world, who sold everybody the story of Jesus. These same magical words got everybody under the influence. Can't see through the fog. But anyway. By the way, with regards to Jesuit Joe addressing the collapsed banks today on 13/3, like 133, President 133, White House 133, Government 133. Don't forget, back in 2015, the very first Republican debate, it was on Fox News. Trump took the stage, and the first thing they put up was, Forbes says Trump 133rd richest man in the nation. And what was my video that night, back in 2015? Looks like The Apprentice might very well be the next president. What a joke. We were talking about how he announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower for the 58th election. But just the same stuff over and over. And again, Biden addressing the collapse today on 13/3 on the 83rd day of winter as the banks, the small ones, go way down. And, yeah, you know, 2015, we saw that Trump was very likely the next president. By February 2016, I was all but convinced. And then, of course, as the year went on, I did come off my pick, which was the mistake. I just thought it was getting too ridiculous with Trump. But now I get it. It's just like, yeah, it had to be that ridiculous because it's all about just taking us to exactly where we are. The most divided people have ever been. Just everything. Everything's at the breaking point in America as they get ready for the big transition. Okay, so anyway, Biden on the most fitting day from the White House addresses the collapsed banks, saying that all of them should be fired. Well, I'm pretty sure they all lost their job if their bank's going under. More incompetent rhetoric from Slow Joe, which I actually do think that's the party place. You know, some days he's sharp as a tack, other days he's Slow Joe. I think it's just all part of the act. That's why they like to put actors in the White House and in politics. Just saw how Boy Meets World just announced by the numbers. He might be the next guy there. You just never know. But anyhow, coming back to Pfizer, we've been documenting the million Jesuit rituals with Pfizer in the time of COVID and so on. And then today's Albert Bourla's 144th day of his age. On the 72nd day of the year, they make the big purchase for Seagen, another pharmaceutical company. And again, just so perfect, right? 72nd day of the year, Albert Bourla's 144th day of his age. Hold on. Bourla didn't have a... Let me go back and check real quick about here. Albert Bourla. Did he do this a while back? It didn't come right up. I'll check on that later. Never mind. But yeah, it's just a reminder of, again, who's really running the market. $43 million purchase in March. I want to look at what the final purchase price is, because sometimes they end up changing them. I'm actually surprised they didn't go for... did I say million? I meant billion. I'm surprised they didn't go for $44 billion, honestly. I have to go look at the final number when it's all done. They do so many rituals with 44 in cancer. They said they got that company for their cancer-fighting technology. But also, Charles Schwab, they had a rough week last week, and then today they were having a really rough day, and their stock fell by 23%, and I think it finished down about 12% for the day. But yeah, just another big 23 ritual with the market. Market 23, All these things on the 23-year anniversary. And what we were talking about last week, 23-year anniversary of the dot-com bubble bursting. And again, March 24th, the 83rd day of the year, the 23rd prime, when collapses 83, will be the 23rd anniversary of the Dow going way down after the dot-com bubble burst. Going to keep an eye on Charles Schwab because tomorrow, Pi Day, is the 229th day of Charles Schwab's age. That's the 50th prime number. The word circle equals 50, like pi, circles. And then the Ides of March is 229 days after his birthday, and Charles Schwab does equal 229. But that would be something if Charles Schwab ended up getting swallowed by something bigger. It's hard to imagine. I mean, such an established name, but yeah, Charles Schwab going through a really rough period. They did put out a statement today saying that they're in great position, and I don't know why people are panicking on our stock, and then that did reclaim some of their value. But yeah, series of really bad days for Charles Schwab. So we'll see what happens tomorrow on Pi Day. Maybe it'll be the recovery. Because again, I mean, that's the people who are in the know who perform these rituals. Again, sell high, buy low. Imagine that you sold at the top or at the bottom today, or, sold before it fell down today, and then when you hit the bottom, buy, and then it recovers all that value, make a lot of money on the way back up. So, okay, and then just the one other thing that made me laugh, just reading this article about the executives who were with Silicon Valley Bank, who were also with Lehman Brothers and Deutsche Bank. At the end of the article, it says, in 2017, Deutsche Bank was forced to pay a massive $7.2 billion penalty. And again, this is today's reporting on the 72nd day of the year. It's just, A lot of you guys keep asking me to write, like a Gematria dictionary. It's a difficult thing to do because the numbers have flexible meaning, but like, in certain categories, you can identify, like there's numbers that are, like you could do one for sports, right? And like these are the numbers that factor in with football and baseball and basketball that we talk about year after year. It's just like, the first March Madness was an 85, and now they've got it up to a 68-team tournament. Basketball numbers. It's like Boston is 22 like basketball and 85 like basketball, and last year in their 22nd championship in 22 is Boston, but you could write a book that's just all sports stuff with the numbers. You could do one that's, all Jesuit with the numbers they have. But again, you can't really say the numbers just have like a universal meaning. They have meanings within categories. So people are always making that request. And I feel like when people make that request, they haven't really thought about the study or really paid that much attention to the work I'm doing. Because if you pay attention, you should realize that like the numbers don't just have one meaning. They're used within realms in certain ways ritualistically, but it doesn't just mean that one thing. So anyhow, when I do finish the book I've been working on, you'll have pretty much all the Jesuit stuff you need to know. And yeah, again, I finally hope that when I do finish this next book that it gets the kind of sales it deserves, and it wakes people up to who's really controlling our society, because it's 1,000,000% clear that people need to wake up and recognize there is an Illuminati, and it is Jesuit, it is Catholic, it is also Ooish, but it's why these rituals take place day after day. And again, I need to get the word Republic in there. But hey guys, First Republic Bank goes down 86 days after Pope Francis' 86th birthday. Again, right where we started. The one thing to maybe wake up your friends and family with. 86 days after the Pope's 86th birthday. And again, we already know how big this is. Argentina hadn't won it since 86. His native country wins it the day after his birthday. The first ever World Cup ever set at that time, which was the big clue they'd take it. But yeah, these numbers also go with the symbols on the dollar bill. And again, it's the 13th of March and the 72nd day of the year. And numbers that have a lot to do with that symbol on the dollar bill, with the Latin around it, the language of Rome. So, again, man, it's like people are under a spell. I don't know how people can't see that Rome doesn't control the nation. Roman architecture all over the Capitol, Latin all over the place, videos like this for a decade out on the internet. Listen to that one guy today. 7,000 people in his stream, and he has the audacity to say that the algorithm's killing him. Guy's getting like 100,000 videos per view he posts. He says, man, the algorithm's just keeping this channel down. It's like, okay. YouTube's paying you like $50,000 a month in views. I'm sure, yeah, the algorithm, that's why it's just like, how are people even listen to a guy like this? Bragging about finally getting it right after 5 years of making the same prediction, it lands. It's just, God. People just eat up the biggest loads of shit there ever were. The algorithm's holding us down. 7,000 people in the stream. It's like, you want to know what it's like to be held down by the algorithm? Come check out a channel like mine. Deleted 20 sometimes and can't even get any views anymore. So, anyhow, shout out to the super chatters. Thank you, Michelle Edwards. Michelle Edwards chipped in $2.99. John Mendoza said, thank you, Zach. Chipped in $2. I appreciate it. ABCD chipped in $20.10. I appreciate the creativity on that 201. And 13 Serpents chips in another big $5. Thanks again, 13 Serpents. And shout out to Brian Williams on the Cash App. And I do appreciate it. So, anyhow. We'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. It's dinner time over here. Again, you guys, take care of yourself. Here. Just real advice. Again, you guys, pay down all your debts as fast as you can. Pay down your debts because debt is slavery. And they're saying that, the Fed might continue to raise interest rates despite what it's doing to the smaller banks. And I guess in a way it makes sense because then the big banks will take over, which pretty much are the Fed. But as interest rates go up, it means that credit card APRs get even more insane. And again, for all you young people out there who don't have a credit card yet and don't have debt, the one thing to do for all of your life is make sure you do not have debt. Do not have debt. Pay off your debt. And here, just to make a point, compound interest calculator. A lot of people's credit card interest is around 20%. Some is even higher. And some people, they might have like a $5,000 credit card balance. And they might even be running that debt up. But just notice, if you have a 20% interest rate on your credit card and you have a $5,000 balance, if you didn't get that paid off over the course of 5 years, look at how much money this becomes. Over 5 years, it becomes $12,441. And again, people who don't pay off their credit card balance and just keep making the minimal payment, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Over 10 years, that $5,000 becomes $31,000. And there's people who have just insane credit card debt because they're in a scenario like this. But maybe they even ran up $10,000 in debt and never paid it off. But again, just look at how it just balloons. It just gets crazy. And it can get a lot worse than that. There's people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit card debt because the interest rates can be even worse than 20%. And yeah, again, if interest rates continue to climb, things will get worse. People's debts will balloon more and more. And it's a really hard game to catch up because a lot of people, the reason they have a balance like that is because they bought stuff they could never afford in the first place. And again, just don't make those life mistakes. They bought some expensive clothing and shades and purse and who knows what else. Just things that were essentially liabilities. They weren't ever going to help them get ahead in the world. Might help them look a little bit flashier or pretend like they're rich or trying to impress somebody. But again, had they saved up that money and gone the other way over 10 years, You know, instead of it being a negative thing, it could have been a positive gain. Could have been enough money for a down payment on a house or a business. So pay down your debts as soon as possible. And if you do have a big debt on a credit card, you should do it. If you've never transferred your balance to a 0% APR card for a year period of time, you should do that and pay down as much of that debt as possible so the debt doesn't keep piling up, or the interest, I should say. All right, guys, that is the last thought of the stream. Pay down your debts ASAP. And that said, also eat healthy. Eat healthy. That's the two things Americans aren't doing, man. Americans got big debt balances and big bellies. You know, it's because we weren't taught about any of it in slave school. In slave school, they taught us just enough so that we could become useful idiots in whatever you want to call this thing. The big banker corporate scheme that we all live under. They all want us to be consumers. All right, Truth Seeker. We'll leave it there for tonight, and until next time.